All right. So what's the question everyone seems to be asking right now when it comes to real estate? What's going on with the market? What's going to happen? Are prices going up or down? Are homes selling? What's happening? So I want to share that with you now. Recently, we had a team meeting and I went through a lot of these numbers with my agents. And so I'm going to show you a few charts and graphs and point out some key differences here. So this is showing the number of sold properties over the last 4 years. And so you go back to 2019, 20, and 2021, and you can see almost 4,000 homes sold in the Athens area. Now, this is pulling anything from the local classic MLS, Athens MLS. So anything, pretty much Athens and surrounding areas, but anything that was entered into Athens matrix, that's where these reports are coming from. So you see what happened with sales. Again, everything's been high the last 3 years. 2022, it dropped off, and it dropped off about 20%. So fewer homes sold in 2022. Why? So let's look at this. I think it's a couple of things. One, obviously, being interest rates rose in 2022, and it started to kind of temper and taper the market a little bit. But if you notice here on the average listing comparison, so what this is, we run a report that shows how many homes are on the market on average during each month. And so the dark green, 2019, during that time, and if you remember, 2019 was a good real estate market. I mean, everybody was saying, hey, it's a great market. Things are doing well. When are we going to see the top? And then of course, COVID hit and we thought things were going to crash. Of course, with all the stimulus, they did not. They went the opposite direction. But what happened to active listing inventory? And so traditionally, historically, and if you go back prior to 2019, it's the same thing. Between 1,500 and 2,000 listings typically on the market in the Athens, Georgia area. So we saw that in 19, but then 2020 came and we saw the number of homes for sale drop. 2021, it dropped more. In 2022, it dropped even more. So yes, fewer homes sold in 2022, but is it because there was not enough for sale and people couldn't find what they were looking for? That's part of it. So what happened is they couldn't find what they were looking for. And at the same time, their payment was going up because the interest rates were going up. So a lot of people just said, I'm out for right now. We're not going to move. We're going to stay where we are. And so that's why we saw sales drop. But are prices going to drop in the future? Are they dropping now? That's what I want to get to. But I don't think they're going to crash. This is part of the prediction part. I don't think they'll crash like they did in 2008, 9, 10, because if you were around back then, you remember supply was super high, plenty of houses on the market, builders were turning in keys to the banks, and there were tons of homes for sale, no demand. Well, here we don't have a ton of homes for sale. We have very few. We have less than half of what we had back in 2019, which was a good market. So really, we've got about half of what we had in 2020 when the market started to go nuts. So again, inventory very low. And if you remember from your basic economics class, when supply is low, even if demand drops, prices don't fall out. The only time prices really fall out is when demand drops and supply rises. And that's what we saw in the last recession. But so what are prices doing? So this is on average closed price. And if you look at month over month, again, you see, or actually year over year, I'm sorry, from 2019 to 2022, you kind of see prices rose significantly. Average price in 2019 kind of hovered in that mid 200s, and average price 2022 hovered around close to 400,000, upper 300s. And so you see a tremendous increase. And the next chart I'm going to show you actually shows we are down. So year over year, we're up still. If you look month over month, we're down just a little bit. And that's what that next chart is going to show you. So on this one, I use median. There was some skewed data somehow on the average on this, and it was throwing December out, and it made the chart look really wonky. So I chose median close price here just to show you kind of on a median, what are we doing? It tracks very similar to the average, obviously. Median sales price being around 350, but you break it down month to month. And yeah, sales kind of peaked in the spring towards the summer of 2022. And you see the last couple months here, November, December, we're seeing it drop. But you compare back to December of 2022 is right here. If you can see my mouse kind of in the middle, we're about where we were a year ago. So prices, yes, they peaked in 2022 and they've fallen back down to about where they were a year ago. Now, will they continue to slide? I think part of it's going to depend on interest rates. It's going to depend on the demand. What we're seeing right now is people are coming into the market that were not shopping last year, that were not accustomed to saying, oh, at 3%, I can afford 700,000. Now at 6%, I can only afford 400,000. That's kind of what happened to people looking last year. People coming in now, they're just saying, hey, here's what I can afford. What are my options? And they're looking at houses. Problem for them is inventory is so low. They're saying, oh, I only have a few to choose from. I want to see some more options. So, which means if you're looking to sell your house, could be a good time to do that. So, but if you notice how much prices rose, and we go back 2 years, so go back to January of 2021, and you see where that median price was around 260 and median price now at 350. So even if it does slide a little bit bit. Unless you bought your house in 2022, you're probably still going to be in pretty good shape as far as equity goes, even if prices do slide just a little bit. So this is another very interesting chart just to show you the demand versus the supply. So again, going back to 2019, you've got, we hovered in that 1,500 to 2,000 listings on any given month, actively on the market for sale. And you see the number of sales kind of hovered between 250 to 400. It looks like May peak close to 500, upper 400s there. So you see kind of what we're expecting to sell. That's the demand. The blue is the demand, homes that are selling. Compare that to last year. And the chart changed. So notice the numbers over here. We're looking at probably, again, 200 to 400, really hovering right around 300 sales. 250 to 300 sales, but the inventory is only between 600 and 800 homes for sale. So of what's on the market right now, you're looking at if 250 are on average are selling out of about 700 versus, I'm going back to 2019 now, versus around 350 out of 1,600. So there's still more homes. The odds of selling now are still greater than they were even in 2019 as far as when you look at active homes for sale. So based on that, even though rates have gone up, the supply is down very much and the demand is still there. People still have to buy and sell. They still have to move. They still take new jobs in new cities. They move away, they come in. So home sales will continue, but they may continue at a slower pace. But I don't think prices are going to fall out simply because there's not enough for sale. So then you ask yourself, where would the inventory come from? The only options there is if builders start building more, which all the builders have kind of pulled back a little bit now too. It's hard to get things off the ground with all the regulation, hard to get new lots. And you might see some investors sell, but rents have gone up so much, investors are hanging on to real estate too, because the numbers are working for them, especially as rates have risen in the last couple of years. They're bringing in even more cash from the rent. So I don't see a lot of investors selling unless things get really bad. You may see some Airbnbs get sold if we go into a recession. That might be. And then the other thing over in Atlanta, you did see Wall Street buy a lot of houses this year. If Wall Street decided to dump what they bought, the iBuyers, the instant offers, those kind of corporate Wall Street type companies buying houses, that happened a lot in the Atlanta market. It did not really happen here. But if all of a sudden those companies decide, hey, we're going to liquidate what we've got, they all dump them on the market at the same time, that could increase supply significantly, which could affect prices. I don't expect that would happen. If it does, again, it's not going to happen here as much, but if it happens in Atlanta, it will trickle over this way a little bit. So that's the only way I could see prices changing dramatically. And most of the gurus are saying, hey, we may see a slight dip, which again, when you're up 30, 40%, if it drops, 5, 10%, you're still to the good, again, unless you bought right at the peak in the summer of last year. So hope this has been helpful. If you're looking to buy or sell or having specific questions about your unique situation, again, this is broad numbers, painting with a broad brush here, Athens area. Every neighborhood's different. Every price range is different. Each county, each school zone, all those factors play into what is your house actually worth or what would it sell for. So one conclusion you could draw from this today is that whatever you're doing, you need to make sure you connect with an expert, somebody that knows the market, and find out, what is the situation with your house? How much can you sell it for? If you're buying, same kind of thing, to make sure that you're getting in. We are seeing buyers in a much more advantageous position right now because there's less competition for houses. So, we're not seeing the 8 to 10 offers. And that's what blew it up in 2022. You were seeing 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 offers and prices were going, 30, 40, 50, 60 grand above list price. And that's what saw the big surge in 2022. So really what we've done is we've settled back down to where those prices would have been had there not been such fierce competition and people bidding up so high. So we've settled back down to that number. So that's why I feel like we're going to kind of hang there. But we are seeing some sellers have to pay a little bit of closing costs now. Some are negotiating a little bit. They're definitely allowing inspections now, which was more difficult to get back then. So the only downside right now is that rates are a little bit higher. But if they fall in a couple of years, you buy now at a good price and refinance in a couple of years. I do believe if mortgage rates decline significantly, then we will probably see a lot more activity among buyers because there are buyers that want to buy. They're looking for a payment that they can afford. So if rates drop, I expect prices may start to climb again. So you don't want to miss the boat there. Again, if we can do anything to help you, if you have specific questions, reach out to us. We'll be glad to help.